Are you ready for pain? Are you ready for suffering? If the answer is yes, then you're ready.
You know what you did here? You know what you did? You lied. You made a straw man argument. No one blames you for slavery. You don't need to have white guilt for anything. We're saying that the colonizers established an evil system that benefits you and people who look like you. We're saying that slavery led to Jim Crow, which led to segregation, which led to redlining, which led to poorly funded educational facilities, which simultaneously led to no generational wealth, which led to poverty, which leads to a more volatile environment. No one blames you for slavery. You did not build a time machine, go back and create slavery. No, we're saying that slavery started a domino effect of damage, and you benefit from that damage. So please help us in trying to fix it. Thank you in advance.
Hi, Benji here, and this is why you should use your white guilt for good. White guilt is the regrets that white people feel when confronting the realities of racism and the benefits that they get from white privilege at the expense of POC. A recent example was the killing of George Floyd in May 2020, which forced white people globally to confront their white privilege, some for the first time. Guilt is uncomfortable, so a common reaction is to try and remove it. People will get defensive and deny their white privilege or try to apologize for it or perform shallow attempts at activism. This might help with the guilt, but the white privilege doesn't disappear. You just don't feel so bad about it anymore. For us to ever achieve racial equality, white people need to move past the discomfort and use their white privilege for positive, sustainable change. Let the guilt keep you motivated and accountable. Stop feeling bad and do good instead. That's that.
Miss Icicle, ride deck bicycle. Come true, yo. Get you this type of blow. If you wanna manage, I got a tricycle. All these bitches close with my...
Sir, will you please stop staring at me?
Where's the rest of you?
Hey, do you have any white guilt you would love to get rid of? Because here's your chance. I have to renew my DACA soon. Deferred action for childhood arrivals. You know, because I get punished that my parents brought me into this country as a child. A country that was stolen from my ancestors to begin with, you know what I mean? But anyway, I by no means, I guess need it. I can afford it myself. But I figured I might as well give y'all white people a chance to feel better. I'll leave my PayPal in the comments. And feel free to donate anything. $1, 50 cents. I'll take anything, and hopefully that makes you feel better. Makes this cheaper for me. Everybody wins.
So I found out about the shenanigans on Twitter when Fat Feminists tweeted about it. Skinny people using this song specifically about growing up as a fat person to talk about their teeth and how they're too skinny, and it's such a great analogy for where mainstream body positivity is now compared to what it was intended for. It was created to liberate the most marginalized of bodies, you know, black, brown, disabled, fat, super fat bodies, and now it's been watered down to being about self-love and body image. This song isn't for you. This song isn't for you. Yes, I'm gatekeeping. Yes, I'm gatekeeping this. This is specifically about growing up fat and being fat. I just really wish thin people would stop commandeering these things and these movements. Inserting yourself, taking up too much space.
Can black people be racist?
No.
Can black people be racist?
I mean, they can, and I honestly think that they have every right to, because they were oppressed, and they still are.
Can black people be racist?
Oh, definitely. Yes, I believe that.
Can black people be racist?
I've seen where some can be, yes.
Happy International Women's Day! You're beautiful and you are so valuable, and your thoughts and your feelings are important and they matter, and when you share them, it makes other people feel stronger about sharing their...
People have not liked my controversial opinions before, but YOLO, you are depressed because you're a soldier on a battlefield. Make no mistake, we are in the middle of a fucking war. It's the biggest one in human history in my opinion. The only difference is this time, it's psychological, not physical, and therefore it's more insidious. There's 3 of them, and 2 opponents each. And you're fighting all 3 on some level. That's why you're fucking exhausted. 1, the feminine versus the masculine. Cheating and lack of commitment is like a grenade. Ghosting is like the new AK-47. Codependency, neediness, narcissism, and unhealthy attachment styles are like the atomic bomb. basically. There is so much shit talking and bashing the opposite gender on this app, in fact on the internet in general, regardless of what your sexuality is, and you guys, we really need each other. It needs to fucking stop. I mean, I wouldn't be here if my dad wasn't here. 2, there's a war between freedom and connection. Other words, you versus the tribe. I'm running out of time, click the plus sign for part 2.
Toxic Masculinity, brought to you by the Laugh Track, part 1.
You got a warping son. I'm not spending enough time with my dad. You step out of this house, I'm on my way to my first ballet lesson.
I promise you, I'll make it up to you. Hey, I promise.
Without the laugh track, this could have gone a different way. I mean, Corey could have tried ballet, and he's just so uncoordinated that it wouldn't have worked for very long. Or Alan could have said, you're not coordinated for that enough, Core. Or Amy could have said, and what's wrong with ballet exactly? There are many options to take the toxic masculinity out of that moment. But it all starts with not putting a laugh track there.
The training regimen for the Minneapolis Police Department in their police academy takes 4 months. For the New York Police Department, their police academy takes 6 months. But to get certified as a pastry chef, now that takes 8 months. The croissants need it, apparently.
You're afraid of white people becoming the minority? Good heavens, why? Are minorities treated differently?
So I just got home, and I had an interesting, I guess we'll call it conversation with a customer today at work, which ended up with him looking incredibly dumb because this man came into my store and handed me a debit card that was not his, but it was his wife's. So I was like, look, if you can like match me up like IDs or whatever, like I'll do it, because like I get it, he had a little baby with him, like mom was probably at home trying to rest, etc., etc. This man proceeds to then give me a lecture while he's pulling out his ID. He also has her ID is on, her pictures on the debit card, like not unusual. We have stuff like that happen all the time. However, this man proceeds to hand me everything. And when I check over it, I'm like, okay, cool. Like I can do this for you, blah, 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 blah. He goes, well, it's not like any of the money on that debit card is hers anyway. I'm like, sir, this is her card. Like, what are you talking about? This fool then proceeds to tell me that it's not her money because she's a stay-at-home mom and he puts his check into her bank account. I immediately was like, gave him this look, like, the hell? Like, what do you mean like, what? And there was a man in line behind him. And I work with men, but the men I work with are not like this guy. So I proceeded to lecture him about why that is her money as well. Like, who are you? Like, just because she's a stay-at-home mom does not mean that is not her money. Linda, I feel bad for you to just find this out, but like 50% of that is hers. You know what I'm saying? Like, the audacity. I was like, no, that's not right. No. And then I lectured, like I said, I lectured him about all of this. And after he left, the man in line behind me the man in line behind him was like, I am so glad that you said something because I really wanted to speak up. And I was like, well, you should have. You should have said something. Like, yeah, it means probably very little coming from me, but another male, it would probably mean a little bit more, you know, because men are typically chauvinistic, yada, yada, yada. But anyway, I feel really bad for his wife because I was like, ooh, no, sir, not happening. So, doubt he'll be back.
Historic and surprising decision. The European Union has decided to give refugees from war the instant right to live within the bloc and freely travel. They also have the right to work. They even now have rights to housing and medical care. There is one catch. This only applies to Ukrainians. These rights are not being extended to refugees from Palestine, Yemen, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq, Mali, the Central African Republic, or any of the other countries in which Western armed interventions provoked refugee crises. Seemingly no one would begrudge Ukrainian refugees their human rights, but many in France are wondering why they are getting treated totally differently from black, brown, and Muslim asylum seekers.
Apparently you have to be white and Christian to be treated properly.
So the term white privilege doesn't mean that white people don't struggle. White privilege solely means that as a white person, yes, you can go through poverty or abuse or family issues, but none of those issues are because of the fact that you are white. White privilege isn't the absence of struggle. It's just the fact that your skin color was never the reason for your struggles. The same way I'm black. So yes, I'm going to have discrimination against me because of the color of my skin in this society. But that doesn't mean that I don't have privileges that I acknowledge. I grew up in a 2-parent household in a nice neighborhood and they loved me. Like, I honestly could be not more privileged because of my family life. And I acknowledge that. But my skin color had absolutely nothing to do with that. So the same way you have white privileges, but you can struggle, I have black struggles, but I can still have privileges. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having privileges. The problem lies in denying the existence of them.